Okay guys, so today we're going to be talking about the season 4 finale of the Vampire Diaries, and wow, you guys. First of all, I was like hugely confused at the end of the episode. Was I the only one that was confused? I'm still a little confused, if I'm being honest. So even once the episode was over, I had to go back. I was sitting there kind of like, what? Huh? What? I don't understand what that means. And I rewatched the entire episode, and then I had to rewatch the end. I mean, I probably rewound the end, like the last 5 minutes, probably like 4 or 5 times, so I don't know. I still have so many questions, but I guess that's kind of their purpose in a season finale, you know, is to answer a few questions, but to leave you with many, many more. Now, let's just go ahead and get it out of the way, because my poor little Elena heart is broken. Broken! I mean, I was just, like, destroyed by this episode. I love Stefan Salvatore, people, and I just didn't feel like things ended so well for Stefan at all. I mean, first of all, you know, to hear, you know, Elena tell Damon, I love you. Don't even get me started on that bit. But then, not just that, but then to get, like, thrown into the bottom of the quarry inside of this safe. So basically he's just gonna be at the bottom and nobody's gonna know that he's gone, and it's just not gonna be good for him. On a side note, I just want to note that as a fanatical Buffy the Vampire Slayer / Angel fan, do we all remember the season 3 cliffhanger of Angel? Because what happened to Stefan is vaguely familiar, because that happened to Angel, so I don't know about that. So let's talk about the end first, and then we'll kind of backtrack. But Silas shows up. You know, he's not dead. Basically what we get is that because Bonnie was the one who did the spell, when she died, the spell was broken, which allowed him to not be stone anymore. And also, the big kind of huge reveal that we learned, the fact that Stefan is basically Silas's doppelganger, that's the reason why his face was covered last week. And I remember I noted that in my review, that I thought it was weird that we never actually saw his face, his true form. But that was why, because we would have recognized it. So, first, when Silas shows up, he looks like Elena. And I'm just gonna say this, and I don't know if it's true. My question is, you know, since Silas showed up as Elena, how long had he been kind of passing himself off as Elena? Were there other scenes in this episode that we saw Elena in when it was really Silas? You know, part of me wants to believe and wish and hope that, you know, when Elena was confessing her love to Damon, that was really Silas. Please, please, please. I know, it's wishful thinking, and it's probably not true, but I'm just gonna think that way for this whole summer while we wait for season 5. But anyways, back to Silas. So the kicker at the end, right, is when he comes to Stefan, he looks like Elena at first, but he's basically explaining what's going on. He's explaining to him why he's alive, but then he also explains to him, like, he tells him that he was the one who created the immortality spell 2,000 years ago. So then that makes me question the whole Ketsia thing. Was that just a myth? I don't understand. That confused me a little bit. And then he basically tells him that because he created the spell, you know, nature needs balance. And since he's immortal and can't die, nature had to create a part of him, like a shadow self, that was able to die. A doppelganger. And so we find out at the end of the episode that that is Stefan. Stefan is his doppelganger, right? So it was like huge reveal and craziness. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So yeah, then Silas takes Stefan's form. So you get that even though Stefan's going to be at the bottom of the quarry under all the water, everyone's gonna think that he's still around, you know, because, you know, Silas will be there. Or, even if he did leave, it's like everyone would get that. You know, like Elena picked Damon, of course Stefan would need some time away from that. Let's talk about Bonnie, you guys, because I was not happy. As you guys know, I mean, from my Bonnie rant last week, basically Bonnie's dead is what I'm getting, and I hate that. Hate it. I hate the way her character's been treated, and it just annoys me greatly. Even in this episode, when it's like, she's dead, right, and she hasn't put the veil back up, and so everyone's still walking around, and she says she needs the full moon to be able to put it back up, and so she uses that day to kind of get to see her friends again, to say goodbye. But she doesn't technically do that. I mean, she does it in kind of a really subtle way, you know, like especially with her dad. But like with everybody else, it's just like, oh, we're graduating and tears and about the future. But she doesn't say anything to them. In the end, you know, Jeremy's the one who shows up when she's getting ready to put the veil back up because he wants to, you know, spend his last moments with her. So that was kind of cool. And they had a little moment, which is like, finally. But even when he realizes what she's done, you know, and it looks like the spell did work, he is going to live, you know, she still, you know, it's just kind of like, tell everyone that I went to spend the summer with my mother, and it's just like, really? Really? They're gonna figure out you're dead eventually. I'm just annoyed that Bonnie's gone. You guys have heard me rant about it before, so I will spare you that in this review. But, you know, fingers crossed, because we all know that when you die on the Vampire Diaries, it's not always, you know, forever. So maybe Bonnie will be back at some point, and they'll learn how to treat her better. Let's talk about Matt and Rebekah, because I really kind of liked the progression of their relationship in this episode, and I really liked where they ended up. So as the episode starts, you know, Rebekah's ex has got them, you know, one of the hunters, he's kind of holding them, and Matt's kind of standing on some pad that's like linked to explosives, so he can't move. And so you see the two of them interacting, and at one point they actually kiss. Rebekah really does it to kind of distract him, and she moves him kind of off of the explosives, and she takes his place. But I loved the whole bit, like she talks to him about where she would take him if they were to travel, and she'd want to show him the world, that type of thing. And then at the very end of the episode, after everything's kind of resolved, to some degree, she shows up at his door, and it's just like, I just want to make sure you're okay, and to kind of see if you meant what you said, if you'd really want to go with me. And at first he's kind of like, I'd like to keep my love life vampire free. I love Matt. And then you get that he is gonna go, and that he's really just kind of teasing her, and they were way too cute. So they're gonna road trip it. I mean, like the road trip of fantasy. We're talking like Paris, and the Northern Lights, and Italy, and it's just gonna be awesome. So I'm excited for Matt to kind of finally get out of Mystic Falls, so it should be interesting. So all of these hunters are in town because the veil is down, and they're basically still trying to do their job. At one point, Vaughn, like, comes to the house to see Damon, not to see him in a nice way, because as soon as Damon opens the door, he shoots him, not realizing that the bullets in the gun are laced with werewolf venom. So once again, we've got a season finale where Damon is dying from a werewolf bite. Now remember, Damon actually has the cure, and so Elena really encourages him to take the cure, because if he took the cure and was human, the werewolf venom, you know, would not have that effect on him. But Damon doesn't want to do it. The cure really kind of changed a lot of hands in this episode. So obviously Alaric gave it to Damon in the last episode and was kind of like, go get the girl. Damon tries to give it to Elena. Elena tries to give it to Stefan. It's just kind of all over the place. And we're going to talk about where the cure ended, and I was really, really excited about that. Now, obviously, the only cure for Damon is Klaus, right? And Carolyn tries to call him, but he doesn't answer. And I just thought it was so fantastic because he does show up in Mystic Falls. Turns out that he was on his way there to see Carolyn graduate. It was just beautiful. And so he cures Damon. So thankfully, the whole Damon's gonna die tension didn't really last all that long. We did have just a fantastic Caroline moment. I really think it was one of my favorite parts of the episode, because Klaus did come back to Mystic Falls to say goodbye, but also to see Caroline graduate. And his gift to her that he gives her for graduating is he tells her that Tyler is free. He can come back to Mystic Falls if he wants. And he tells her something like, you know, like, he's your first love and I intend to be your last. And I just thought that was so awesome and beautiful, and I loved it. Loved when he said that. Now, the name of this episode was Graduation. A big part of that is because there was actually a graduation. They were actually graduating from high school. And there was a really great scene as you kind of saw the core group. You saw, you know, Bonnie and Caroline and Matt and Stefan and Elena kind of together for graduation, and there was like a group hug, and there was lots of feels, and it was really cool. And, you know, of course, Bonnie's kind of doing the goodbye thing without really saying goodbye, so it was sad for that reason too, and it was a really cool little scene. So let's talk about Katherine, you guys, because this part of the episode was fantastic. Basically, Katherine's still in town because she's still waiting for Bonnie to kind of deliver on her half of the deal. She's still waiting for Ketsia to show up and to make her truly immortal. But of course, Ketsia didn't show up so Bonnie can't really help her. And you just get that Katherine's just kind of pissed about life, basically. So Katherine decides to kind of channel all of her hatred towards Elena, and just kind of like, she has the life I want, she has the good life, and I should have that life. And I just found that fascinating, especially when we think about the year that Elena has, because it definitely has not been all that great. But Katherine's angry, so she's not really thinking straight. By the end of the episode, we basically see her find Elena in the school, and it's like smackdown. I mean, they're just like tossing each other around. Katherine's really doing most of the butt kicking. And for a moment, you guys, I seriously thought she was gonna kill her. Like, I thought Elena Gilbert was gonna die in this episode, because I was like, what is gonna happen? How is she gonna get out of this? And at the last minute, as Katherine is reaching in to like yank out her heart, we realize that Elena has the cure. Now earlier we saw Damon give the cure to Elena, but you know, she was like, I'm not gonna take it. And then later we see Elena try to give the cure to Stefan and tell him to take it. But they flash us back to that scene to show us that Stefan then returns the cure to her and basically tells her like, look, everything I've done to get the cure was for you, so that you could have the choice of whether or not you wanted to be a vampire. So as Elena is laying there on the ground and Katherine is reaching into her chest cavity, Elena reaches into her pocket, grabs the cure, shoves it into Katherine's mouth, and I mean, it was just excellent as she like jams her jaw shut so that she like chomps down on the vial and breaks it. And you realize that, oh my gosh, Katherine just took the cure. She's gonna be human. And while Katherine might not be a vampire anymore, you know, if the cure works, let's still remember that she's just a conniving and manipulative person. So that's not really gonna change when she becomes human again. I just think she's just gonna use her human powers for evil because she's just not a nice gal. Like I said, this episode was just kind of confusing, and it left me with so many unanswered questions. It was definitely a return to the kind of, I don't know, Vampire Diaries pace that I'm used to, though. I mean, it was just like a juggernaut. I mean, it was like so many things happened in this episode. It was like non-stop, scene after scene. It was just like, what? Huh? What? Oh my gosh. I mean, and I love that. I love that about the Vampire Diaries. So it was really cool to kind of see that kind of fast-paced, you know, moving storyline come back in the season finale. I'm excited for season 5. Now, I'm gonna spend my summer worried about Stefan, who's, you know, in the safe down at the bottom of the quarry under all the water. I'm gonna be concerned about him because I love him. But other than that, I should make it through the summer. Now, I did want to mention that I'm gonna be hosting a TVD live chat here on my channel on Friday, May 17th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you're subscribed to me, the live chat's going to show up in your subscription feed. So yeah, tune in, comment, and tell us what you guys thought about this episode. This season has been a roller coaster, you guys. Like, it feels like forever ago. Like, when I think back to the beginning of the season when Elena was just realizing that she was a vampire, that seems like forever and ever and ever ago. It's been a wild and crazy season. And yeah, if you want to check out some of the other reviews that I've done this season, I'm going to post a link for that. It'll pop up on the screen, and then I'll also post that down in the description box below. Thanks so much, you guys, for kind of sharing this season with me. It's been awesome. And we'll see you guys for season 5. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Bye.